To this extraordinary Culture and Leisure Overview and Scrutiny Committee meeting. I'm Councillor Murray Turner and I'll be chairing the meeting today with my Vice Chairman, Councillor Barry Dobson, and to my right is Democratic Services Officer Lucy Bonsher. Can I remind members that this meeting is being recorded and can also be watched as a live stream or later via the SKDC webcast on the Council's website. I would appreciate it if mobile phones can be switched to silent, please. There is no scheduled fire drill today, so if we hear the alarm, please make your way to the nearest exit to the assembly point on the green in front of the building. If you wish to ask a question or make a comment, please can I request you indicate by raising your hand. Just before we go into the agenda, I'd like to wish the women's rugby team all the best in the current World Cup endeavours and say how pleased I am to see all the flags of support going up right across the country to support them in their endeavours at this time. Okay, let's move into the agenda. Item 1, are there any apologies for absence, Lucy?
Thank you, Chairman. We've had apologies from Councillor Matt Bailey, Councillor Emma Baker, Councillor James Denniston and Councillor Rhea Rayside. Councillor Bailey is being substituted by Councillor Gloria Johnson. Councillor Emma Baker is being substituted by Councillor Elvis Stook. Councillor Denniston is being substituted by Councillor Tim Harrison and Councillor Rhea Rayside is being substituted by Councillor Max Sawyer.
Thank you very much, Lucy. Are there any members who have an interest to declare? You can declare these at any time during the meeting as well. No? Okay, let's move straight on to the meat and drink of the meeting. Item 3, the Grantham Mears Leisure Centre gym refurbishment. And would David Rushton or David Scott like to present this for us, please? Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Who haven't met me before, I'm David Rushton, the newish chairman of Leisure SK. Prior to getting this role, I've had quite a on and off involvement over the last 25 years with South Kesteven, including I worked for the leisure operator that had the contract when Grantham Mears Centre was built. So, plus other projects that I've been doing in a consultancy role. So yes, I've sort of had my eye on South Kesteven for about 25 years, including Paul Stokes as well. So keeping my eye on him. Okay, next slide, please. So what we're talking about is investing in the fitness suite at the Grantham Mears Leisure Centre. Background to that is obviously health and fitness income. You know, whilst it's not as strong as it used to be because of the level of competition compared to when the Mears was first opened, it's still a critical income generation mode for any leisure centre and in particularly all of the centres in South Kesteven. It's also a movable industry and customer expectation, so it's critical that our fitness suites stay relevant and maintain a competitive edge in what is an increasingly competitive market. Facilities do need regular investment, including equipment replacement. The fitness offer has been performing very well this year. It's performing above budget and meeting its targets. But the equipment at the Mears is between 7 and 10 years old, so it's in need of replacement. It was acquired from the previous operator, and prior to that, we believe that One Life had been keeping the contract going by bringing in equipment from other contracts. So some of it we're not quite sure how old it is, to be honest, but it is at the end of its life. I mean, doing nothing here is not an option because the equipment will start to become unreliable if it's not replaced. So I think what we need to stress here is that yes, we're looking at an investment proposal, but actually the bulk of this is actually replacement. It's actually just keeping the fitness suite going by having newer equipment. We need to keep it relevant, make sure that the existing business is protected. Our offer needs to be competitive, but actually the fact that all the equipment needs replacing is an opportunity to actually improve the service and to bring it up to date, because it is starting to look a little bit tired. Okay. So in terms of the proposal, we're proposing a 240k investment to refurbish the Mayor's fitness suite, including replacing all of the equipment. And this will be implemented through a competitive tendering process, including the whole project. So we're not going to look for somebody to do the equipment and do the refurbishment, fixtures and fittings. We're going to get somebody who can do the whole job, because if you split that, you get into all kinds of complications further down the line if something goes wrong, because each of the two parties could potentially say, oh, it's the other one's fault. So the best practice is to let it out as one contract. And bearing in mind that, with the 240k, probably 90% of that is actually equipment replacement. It's not really a works project. It's a fit out. And we're endeavouring to get the new facility completed before January 2026, which is obviously the sort of January, February, March are the peak times of year for fitness, when people overdo it over Christmas and come back, and New Year's resolution is to join the gym. So we need to be endeavour to be geared up for that. Procurement process is commencing as soon as possible. We're currently just finalising the services specification, working with Welland Procurement. It's focused on delivering best value, and the process will encourage the latest best practice and innovation. So we're not just being very specific, saying we want this and we want that piece of equipment. We're allowing the market to provide the latest solutions and the latest innovation. And as I said, it's all being supported by Welland Procurement. In terms of the evidence base, 2022 the fitness suite was refurbished in Bourne, and has resulted in significant increases in income, which I'll show you shortly. The fitness suite at the moment is operating at roughly 30% less than pre-pandemic levels in terms of membership numbers. So that indicates that there is potential for more people to be joining the gym if we can get a competitive offer. And we've also undertaken some customer surveys, asking our existing customers what they think of the gym at the moment, and in the paper there's some feedback on that, and I'll show you a summary of that on the slides. Okay. So that's the Bourne case study, as you can see. So you can see that income. So this is monthly direct debit income or membership income, and you can see that since the refurbishment it has been steadily growing quite significantly, and easily returning the investment. In fact, is it fair to say, Matt, that you probably already paid for the investment? Is it the
term of the loan, I think, David, we're repaying it over 5 years, but had we chose to repay it faster, then
so the additional income has exceeded the cost of the capital. Okay, next one. So this is some of the recent customer feedback that we've done through the electronically or through the app and through the coaches talking to customers, and that's sort of saying how important is the gym for a gym to have the latest equipment, and you can see that over 63% of those who responded, 157, are finding it very important, 33% somewhat important, and very few, very small percentage not important. So that sort of cements the need to keep our offer relevant and up to date. I think these are some of the improvements that customers have come back to us in terms of what they're looking for, and this will obviously inform the equipment mix of the new gym. So, looking for increase in free weights, and the big one is obviously variety. 119 of them, wanted more variety on machines, and some wanted increased floor space. So, I think it's important to recognise that part of this project is retention. As I say, the gym has been doing quite well this financial year, but it's not going to continue to do well if we do nothing. We need to keep the customers happy and keep the offer relevant. Okay, next. In terms of the return on investment, we can't go through the figures at this point, but the essence of it is that we're saying that the refurbishment will enable us to increase the membership fees by £2 per month, because we'll have a better quality offer. And the kind of numbers that we're projecting in terms of increase are between 5 and 15%, which is still below pre-pandemic levels. So we're not expecting to make unrealistic additional membership sales. It's going to be quite steady. Just in terms of the detail of that, at what point can we discuss? So I'm sure
I think if we're going to talk about what's in the pink papers, we're going to need to have a vote to go into private session. So
okay.
I think you've summed it up quite well. So is there anything else to say on that? Because I'm not sure if the portfolio holder, Councillor Stokes, wanted to say something as well.
No, I think that sums up the situation. We've got the paper before us with the recommendation, so probably the best thing is to see what comments, if there are any, people have, and then move forward with the recommendation.
Thank you. I'm new to this committee. I'm only substituting for Matt, but I've just two questions. How many gym memberships have you got, and how many pieces of equipment are you talking about replacing? Thank you.
It is in the paper, I believe. I believe the 91 pieces of gym equipment off the top of my head, 64 stations, something like that.
And how many gym
Barry's
memberships?
found it, 59 stations. While Gloria's looking at that, did you have a question, Councillor Lebanon?
Yeah, you gave us an example there about Bourne, but how does it relate at Bourne to the competition what there is in Grantham? Because I just can't see how Bourne can be used as a template or an example, where I would have thought we've got far more gym facilities in Grantham when you take into facts like Belton Woods Hotel and all the other hotels that offer all the facilities than Pure Gym, Oceans and everything else. I just don't think it's a fair comparison.
So I don't think it's a direct comparison. What we have put in is an example of membership growth on the back of investment / refurbishment, but you can see from Bourne's it's actually doubled, so grown by 100%, and in the forecast we haven't put things like that in Grantham because we don't think it's possible based on the market. But we do think that it's possible and realistic for the growth between 5 and 15% that we've put in the papers.
I think there is a past precedent for once you invest some new equipment, you do get some new members. But as we say, they can't say there definitely will be. But within the papers, there is a projected return over different amounts of time. Councillor Knight and then Councillor Harrison and Councillor Sawyer, I believe. Oh, okay. Councillor Sawyer.
Thank you, Chairman. If the growth is 5%, I see that will take the payback period well into post-LGR. Are there any financial implications of that?
Karen has advised me that it would be wise if we're going to get into the detail to go into a private session now. So, Lucy, how do I initiate the members to vote for that? Just got to read this notice first, sorry. It is anticipated that in accordance with Section 100A of the Local Government Act 1972, the press and public may be excluded from the meeting during consideration of the following items of business because of the likelihood that the otherwise exempt information as described in paragraph 3 of the Act as amended would be disclosed to them. So I need a proposer and a seconder. Councillor Liddenden proposed, Councillor Sawyer seconded, and all those in favour of going into private session. That's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you to Mr Rushton for that report. I think that was very good. I think I can confirm, not that you'd know to look at me now, but I used to use gyms quite a bit, and definitely if there is a new gym opening up with a lot of new equipment and a new setup and everything, it will, without doubt, generate a brand new membership going forward. And I think, as he's spoken there, the numbers predicted are 5 to 15, which is still pre-pandemic levels. I think they've proven to be very conservative with what the figures could go up to. You know, I think we're erring on the side of caution there. If anything, I think they could well go up above that. So this proposal, in my mind, represents exactly the kind of proactive investment we need in our leisure facilities. The gym at the Mears has served the community really well, but it's very tired. I think it's nearly a decade old now, I think we're being told, breaking down frequently, which will lose members. You're going on and want to use a bit of equipment and it's broken down, you go again the next week, it's broken down, you're going to start going somewhere else. If we stand still, we risk losing the existing members, never mind getting any new ones. I think this business plan in front of us makes a compelling case. It's financially sound. Even with no growth in the membership, the refurbishment will pay for itself within the lifetime of the contract. With growth, the return's even stronger. It's a massive community benefit. I don't think any of us can doubt that. The modern, safe, reliable equipment will help the Grantham community to lead a more active and healthy lifestyle. The timing's ideal. We all know January, everybody wants to work off the Christmas puddings and whatnot. So, and doing the work in December, which is traditionally a quieter period anyway, will facilitate us to catch that January rise in memberships. So it's good business sense, and it will position Leisure SK, in my opinion, to compete very strongly with whatever else is in the town. It's a comprehensive approach. It's not just kit replacement. From what I can see, it's full refresh, flooring, lighting, redex, and it'll give Grantham and the Earthfield in particular facility to be proud of. This isn't a luxury, in my opinion. It's an essential investment. The Mears has been a flagship that for decades now has been left to get very tired, and the team are working very hard. In my opinion, we see massive improvements there, and it should set our standard for SK. The whole thing's other Bourne and everyone should be judging on our leisure centre here, I think. So I think by endorsing this refurbishment, we'll be backing a project that delivers health prospects, financial sustainability and value for money. You know, so with that, I would like to recommend the proposal that this committee supports the business plan and allows Leisure SK to proceed with the procurement without delay.
Thank you, Councillor Harrison. Councillor Knight.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Rushton, for the presentation. I think it's very professional, and I think that the arguments that have been made, backed up by evidence, are overwhelming, as Councillor Harrison just said. I think there's two areas where, although I don't disagree with Councillor Harrison's point, there's a few caveats and buts with capital Bs that I want to throw in there. First of all, I think we need to be careful of trying to compete with the private sector. I think that our objective is to provide a leisure facility that the private sector cannot provide and to minimise our losses doing that. I don't think that trying to get into competition with the likes of Belton Woods, with the likes of Pure Gym, is really our role. But I certainly think we need to minimise losses and provide potentially, especially services that the private sector can't efficiently provide. The second point is that no, I don't consider this a declarable interest, but I should say that my two sons both do swimming lessons at the Mears on a Saturday morning. I'm not a member of the Mears, I'm a member of Belton Woods. My wife's not a member of the Mears, she's a member at Pure Gym. The question is, why am I a member of Belton Woods and not the Mears? Why is my wife a member of Pure Gym and not the Mears? And the answer is simply not the gym facilities, it's the changing rooms. And it's all very well and good us refurbishing the gym, which is absolutely 100% necessary through a loan, but it's failing to address the single biggest thing that impacts our bottom line, which is the state of the changing rooms. And that doesn't just cover the Mears, it also covers Bourne and Stamford as well. I'll come on to that in a second, because I think that we've got to acknowledge Bourne and Stamford, because I realise that there's been a lot of complaints over the last few weeks in particular that an awful lot of attention is going on Grantham, and we're neglecting the other two. The changing rooms are in such a state that there are around about 1,000 children, my understanding is, go through that changing room on a Saturday morning. And therefore there's probably about 1,200 to 1,500 parents and grandparents to go through as well. If we were to survey those 1,500 people, which, by the way, is about the same number of the total number of members of the Mears that we have, and ask them what is the reason why you're not a member of the Mears, the odds are they wouldn't say the gym, although that would be something that would definitely be attractive to them. They would say the thing that is most off-putting is the changing room. And my concern is that we're kind of in danger of putting the cart before the horse a little bit. I absolutely think we need to do the loan for the gym, don't get me wrong, but I think that we need to make a recommendation to Cabinet that that loan has to be conditional on Leisure SK, potentially, I say Leisure SK, this actually could be something the council could just do itself on Saturday morning, this coming Saturday, this isn't a big job, actually surveying people who are member adjacent, in other words, people who are in the building but not members, to find out what it is that is most putting them off being members of the Mears. I am convinced the answer will be the changing room. If I'm wrong on that, then fine, but I'm convinced it will be. And then we need an actual commitment from Cabinet, not just to grant a loan to Leisure SK for the gym refurbishment, but to actually commit to undertaking a proper review of how we can go about improving those changing facilities. And there probably needs to be three options, and I would say the same applies to Bourne and Stamford as well. The simple clean it and tart it up option, at the other extreme, the full bells and whistles refurbishment option, and then the inevitable compromise that we'll end up reaching. We've got a potential maintenance budget coming in. I know that that hasn't been finalised yet, but that is potentially coming in, and we need to be looking to spend that money on the thing that most frustrates the people who could most easily become members, who are, like I said, member adjacent people, people in the Mears who are not members they're not actually using the facilities, but they are for their children. That does need to apply to Bournemouth and Stamford as well. I know I've had at least 5 or 6 phone calls over the last 4 weeks from members from outside the Grantham area saying that Grantham is getting everything. I think that we are conscious of that. I look at the panel today and I think only 2 people are not either Grantham or very nearby Grantham. So we have a very Grantham biased panel. Actually, no, you 2 aren't, are you? So there's 4 of you that are not Grantham people. So I think that we need to be conscious of that. But the change in facility is the biggest problem at that centre, not the gym. The gym needs to be replaced, but we've got to have cabinet. We've got to, the cabinet kind of sit there, create a pot of money, and then think over the next year how we're going to spend it. We need an actual firm commitment from cabinet to get this sorted and get this sorted quickly. Because the easiest solutions could be done potentially even at the same time. They're on different floors. You could do it that way. But we need to get this sorted. And my fear is that we end up with this absolutely amazing gym, but no one wants to go and get changed before going into the gym. And it is a massive problem. And we haven't even done the research yet, is my understanding. Maybe we have. We haven't done the research into what the issues are with the change of facilities and what the options are and how much that would cost, because we have no idea how much that's going to cost. So that is the caveat. I don't disagree with what Councillor Harrison has said in relation to the gym. Absolutely not. But I think that there's a bigger issue here that we need to address as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Recently, you're aware we created a fund, but I don't believe that we'll be able to draw down on that until the next financial year. So it couldn't happen at the same time from what I understand. But luckily we have a cabinet member here with us who might answer. Thank you. Councillor.
Yeah, we agree totally, and that is being looked at. So I don't want in any way to slow down anything to do with the gym, just to try and sync things. But Cabinet are entirely aware of the situation with the changing rooms. There is some money allocated. We are reviewing what we can do, and that commitment is there.
Got a couple of questions from members, but can you further enlighten us, David Rushton?
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, when I started a few weeks ago with Leisure SK, I went round all of the sites because I've been around them for a number of years actually, and I totally agree with what you're saying. In terms of what we're doing in Leisure SK at the moment, we're starting to put business plans together, potentially at Stamford and Bourne to actually not just refurbish the changing rooms, but actually turn them into a changing village, because there is evidence out there in the industry is that when you switch from segregated to a changing village, it improves the financial performance of facilities. So it's well on the radar of Leisure SK. But obviously we can't kind of do everything at once, if you like. But I totally agree with what you're saying, and that applies to all 3 facilities.
Yes, Councillor Knight.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Stakes and Mr. Rushton for that. I think that I'm glad that it's fully acknowledged that this needs to be sorted. I'm glad that the money is on its way to being there. My concern is that because of political pressure within this council at the moment, to do with basically a bit of a turf war between the 3 or 4 towns that is clearly on its way, if it's not already here, I think that we need to have a much more certain kick up the backside, basically, a political drive to actually get this going. Because I think that, obviously, Councillor, you're a Grantham councillor, so you get it. I think that you need to be absolutely hammering the table of members of the Cabinet to say, look, we absolutely have to get this sorted and get this sorted quickly. Because when they were busy, when the grant was won through the central government grant to get solar panels on the roof of the Mears, the stream of comments that were coming through on social media, which was, forget it being greener, we need to be cleaner. It was this constant frustration a lot of the stuff that comes in, and this is the nature of government grants, a lot of the stuff that comes through that we're getting funding for is not the stuff that's fundamentally annoying potential or existing customers the most. And I just think that we need a much... We really need to be hammering the table on this, because if we leave this meeting and the press report is that we're just going to be spending lots of money on the gym, which is what the press report will say, that the first comments on there are going to be, but you're not dealing with the change rooms are the problem. And that's the reason why I think we need to say, yes, we support the gym, but there has to be political will and determination to get this done and get this done quickly. And if that means advancing that maintenance budget forward, then let's do it. It wouldn't take long to get the quotes to look at what can be done with that facility, and it certainly wouldn't take long to survey the actual customers, because those customers on Saturday morning, when they're reading their papers, when they're sitting there meant to be watching the kids, and they're reading their papers, hearing that we're spending money on a gym that's right behind them, we're not spending money on the change rooms, that is going to drive people nuts. And those of us in Grantham are just going to get it in the neck, as we always do over the years anyway.
Thanks very much for your point. I believe Richard Wiles wanted to speak.
Sorry, thanks for inviting me. I've not got my name tag, so I'm not officially here, I don't think. But I just wanted to kind of perhaps reassure Councillor Knight. The investment reserve that was established as part of the outturn for 25-26, which was approved by Government Audit, is not time limited. So it is available from now. It's not into next financial year. But what we're trying to do with it is kind of remove some of that emotional debate that is likely to be had, but from members who are very passionate and rightly so about their own particular area. And we're trying to do it from a objective condition survey route, which is where we will see both from the age of the buildings, the deterioration of some of these areas, but also in terms of customer feedback and Leisure SK's viewpoints as well from what they get from a poor customer experience. And we're bringing all that through the committee cycle in the next couple of months to try and rationalise the 500. I don't think, frankly, will be enough for all. There's 4 sites we're talking about. We're talking about the stadium, the Mearsley Centre, Stamford Lay Centre and Bournemouth Centre. We're also looking at changing rooms as well as the toilet areas, the communal areas, the meeting spaces, and basically any interactive point that the customer has when they enter a centre from the reception point onwards. So we're going to have to be very careful about how we allocate that funding out. And I hear the cries of Grantham, but I also hear the cries of Bourne and I hear the cries of Stamford. So as officers, we're trying to cut through all that and let the evidence point us to where that investment's needed. I think the changing rooms are tied in all of the centres. Some of them may be more cosmetic and more a cleanliness issue. Some will mean more fundamental improvements and repurposing and remodernisation, as David Rushton has just highlighted. But the 500, in my view, will not be sufficient to deal with all of this, but it will be a good start towards it. But for me as an officer, I'm trying to move some of that emotional debate out of it and just say, where does the evidence take us, where does the customer feedback take us, and what's available within the budget allocation we've currently got. There's nothing to stop Cabinet as part of this next budget cycle to recommend to Council further investment in this part of the leisure asset base. But as well as put it into context, we've also got a significant maintenance programme that's also touching all these centres as well as all the other assets. There are millions of pounds going into our centres. Not all of it can be seen from the public, but they're all being invested in to make sure these assets stay open and safe and are legally compliant in terms of the offer that we make. So I get that's entirely the reason why the investment reserve has been created, because it is about decorative and more cosmetic improvements that the maintenance budget will not be identifying at this point because its priorities lie elsewhere. So just to offer some reassurance, we're very aware of it, as Councillor Stokes says. There's a programme of work that we're trying to develop, but we're trying to do it from an evidence-led point of view rather than an emotive point of view. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Stokes, and I'm aware I've still got questions from Councillor Harrison and Councillor.
Yeah, just to follow up on Richard's thing, there is no need to beat the desk around Cabinet. Cabinet have got it, and the Cabinet members from the different areas have got it in terms of their area, so there's no need to be bashing about on the table. I am a Grantham councillor. I'm also Deputy Leader and Cabinet Member for Leisure and Arts, and I am passionate about all of our facilities, not just one. So there's no slant whatsoever towards Grantham. This will be an exercise that we'll look at, and the needs will be looked at in terms of the money we've got and allocated apportionately. And as Richard Wiles has just said, if we need to find more, then we'll have to have a look. But I think people need to also be aware of the millions that are being invested in our centres. I appreciate what you say. It's the changing rooms, but there is no illusion that those changing rooms don't need looking at.
Thank you, Councillor Stokes. Councillor Harrison.
Thank you, Chair. I think we're in danger here of completely drifting off from our agenda. Our agenda's here with a specific item on, which I've made a proposal on. Why I thoroughly respect what Councillor Knight has said, and I would happily support him and work with him on that, chasing funding up and all that sort of thing. That's not on our agenda today. You know, we've got a specific agenda here. It's a no-brainer. Yes, we do want the other stuff doing there, but it's a progress of works. We get finance for certain tasks to be done. This is the one we're discussing today. So, with all due respect, I did make a proposal, Chair. Can we see if there's a seconder and then maybe go to a vote on this?
It was a very good proposal. Thank you very much. I just want to capture all the questions first before we go to it. So I'm going to ask Councillor Leadenham if he wants to ask questions.
It's not really a question as such, but I hear, totally support Councillor Harrison on it needs to replace it, it needs refurbishment, but totally support Councillor Knight because, like I said at the last Culture and Leisure meeting, we've got to provide a complete package. It's all right having the flagship of a gym in South Kesteven, but we've got a North Channel ferry as a changing room. And, you've got to compete. Now, I sent an email to the chairman, which was forwarded to me from the chairman of Grantham Swimming Club, complaining about the state of the facilities. Now, I would like to probably think they're probably one of the Leisure SK's biggest customers at Mears, with over 150 members, and apparently they've been complaining a long time about the state of the changing rooms, showers being cold, the inaccuracy of children changing in communal areas. It's quite a detailed email which I did share with the chairman prior to today's meeting. Now, I will share this with everyone here in this room today, but if your biggest customer is saying, or one of your biggest customers is saying, that 20-odd-year-old woeful inadequate at the level of the facility, and bearing in mind they are producing, this was dated in July, and that particular week they just won a gold medal, the Grantham swimmer did. And, we are not just here for South Kesteven, we're also raising the flag for all visitors coming to the Mears as they see it as a centre for sport and swimming. But we've got to think about the overall package. Gareth touched on it, we've all touched on it. You can have the best gym in the world, but you've got to have the facilities to back it up. But like I say, this is an interesting email, and that's come from the chairman of Grantham Swimming Club, so I will share it with everybody. We've got to listen. So, and apparently they generate over £250,000 income as a swimming club. So we need to listen to these people. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Leadenham. I think there's a general consensus in the room, and indeed a will on behalf of the council to get it fixed. And I appreciate your email, and I did reply to it this morning, and I have passed it on further to Karen Whitfield and Councillor Stokes. So we're definitely going to try and act on it. I think the big win of this committee this year was to get that £500,000 in funding to look outside the scope of general refurbishment of buildings and look at the aesthetics of them and how we might improve them in the future. So I think we're pretty sure that money is going to go there. So, but to round up and say, I agree with Councillor Harrison, that isn't on this agenda, but I did want to give it some airtime, particularly as you wrote that email. So, if we could have a proposer to go forward with Councillor Sawyer, to go forward with the funding towards the new gym equipment, and then all those in favour, please. Good, that's unanimous. Now, it's a single item agenda, so I don't believe there's any other business. Thank you very much.